California's Laguna Seca Raceway. Today it holds the key to championship dreams for 3 men. Twice an IndyCar champion, the studious Bobby Rahal leads the points fight by 11 points. Rahal's road this year has been punctuated with powerful performance. A win in New Hampshire in midsummer gave Bobby's team a solid points lead. But there have been mistakes on Rahal's road. Expensive ones, like at Vancouver, that have cost valuable points, making the recent Rahal road rougher. The path turned tougher yet at Mid-Ohio. An error of inches while running alone left Bobby with his 3rd pointless race of the season and out of the points lead. Not willing to concede the fight, Rahal persevered. 2 weeks ago at Nazareth, taking the checkered flag to regain the top spot. Where does Bobby Rahal's road lead today? Defending IndyCar champion Michael Andretti lies 2nd in the points. Another championship is well within Michael's reach. Early on, his road was uphill. At Phoenix, he took the pole, but his engine would not start. He fell behind the fight. The course was smoother by mid-season. At Portland, he took the checkered flag, the first win for the new Ford Cosworth engine. But this road is long and difficult. At Nazareth, a late race stop for fuel cost the race and kept him 2nd in the fight. Today, his road leads away from the Indy cars. He would like to leave a champion. Unser Jr. is 3rd in points. The 1990 champion has an outside chance to win. Luck has played a part on Al's run. At Long Beach, it was bad luck, hit by his own teammate while leading in the final turns. His luck held at the Indianapolis 500 as he fought off a last lap challenge to take the Indy crown. But this road is a constant struggle. Nothing comes easy. Al's season has been up and down, but he refuses to quit. Now, he hopes to end this day on an upbeat. Each of these men have sipped from the PPG Cup before. 2 years in a row, Bobby Rahal tasted the championship. In 1990, ironically, in this crash at Nazareth, Unser Jr. took the crown. And it was here at this race last year that Michael Andretti finally clinched his championship. For 3 men, today is the end of the road. The 1992 IndyCar Championship will be decided at the Kodalux Processing 300. ESPN, the world's leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. Just a few miles inland from the Pacific Ocean at Monterey, California, Laguna Seca Raceway waits. The championship will be decided today in the IndyCars. Hello and welcome. I'm Paul Page, and what a terrific fight we have in the IndyCar Championship, which will be decided in this, the final race of the season. It's a very subtle fight, and we've tried to boil down all the possibilities and make them as simple as we can for you. Consider the contenders, beginning with Unser Jr. Now, despite published reports, he says that there is no place for him at Benetton or Williams in Formula One, and so he expects to be driving in the IndyCars next season. To win a championship, he today must win the race. Then there's Michael Andretti, and his possibilities are a little more subtle. He must finish 4th or better, while at the same time Bobby Rahal finishes 13th or worse, if Michael is to score a 2nd consecutive championship. And then there is Bobby Rahal. He must simply drive to 4th or better if he wants his 3rd IndyCar crown. Now, what about these men at the last minute before they face this final challenge? Let's go down to Gerald.
Well, Paul, here in the 3rd row of the starting grid, Bobby Rahal settling into the cockpit with the luxury of that 11-point lead. Bobby, you've said all weekend the objective of this team is to go out and win this race. But the question then becomes, how willing are you to take risks? How much will you have to gamble to protect your championship lead?
Well, I think we've got to, we've got to be, we can't just lay back and cruise, but we've also got to be aware that banging wheels isn't going to get it done for us either. So I think we might have to see how things unfold early on and then make the move. I mean, the car handled very well this morning in the warm-up, so we should have a car that should be good enough to get us to the end.
The nerves begin to tighten. Keep in mind, he's won here 4 times in the past. Let's check in with Jan Bikas.
Well, Gary, Michael Andretti starts up front, and 1 year ago today, he was 12 points up on Bobby Rahal. Now the situation is reversed. Michael, we know that you have to win. Will the crew be letting you know Rahal's progress, and will that strategy possibly change depending on his moves?
It definitely could. I think, you know, if Bobby does drop out, then we just need to finish, I think, fourth. So things could definitely change if that happened, but I don't foresee that to happen.
Michael Andretti, he starts up front, Paul. He needs to stay here for the championship. Paul?
And then, of course, there is Unser Jr., and his day is very simple. He drives as hard and as fast as he can, something that he knows how to do. But, Derek Daly, you've driven this course in the Indy cars. What about the prime contenders? What are they thinking?
Well, let's slip into their shoes for a minute here. Let's look at Rahal. If he can win the championship here, it would elevate his team, now his own team, to a new level. That can be very financially beneficial, not just now, but maybe in the years to come. So he has a healthy cushion lead in the points championship. So I don't see him taking one chancy move or making any risky moves at all. Let's slip into Michael's shoes here. As regards the team, let's face it, he doesn't care. He's not going to be here. He's already behind in the championship fight. So he has no option to go flat out in a sprint race, which falls right into his natural style. And you know, when he's in that mode, he's very, very difficult to beat. I wonder will we have a champion swap next year? F1's champion, Nigel Mansell over here. IndyCar champion, Michael Andretti over there. Well, in the next 2 hours, we're going to answer that question.
And it's a giant record crowd that has found its way inland of the Monterey Peninsula here. The cars already set on the grid, 28 Indy cars, 14 rows, the rows of 2. The starter, Nick Finoro, who, by the way, today will be flagging his last IndyCar race. He has flagged the entire career that the CART Indy cars have existed. And here at the track today, another very special moment. To start the engines, Robert and Linda Moselle, the son and daughter of the great Lee Moselle, who passed away last month. It was their father's guiding hand that led Laguna Seca to the great racetrack it is today.
Son of a man who was much missed.
Drivers!
Start your engines.
Linda and Robert both.
So for the last time of the 1992 season, the Indy cars roar into life. A truly magnificent field here today, 28 cars, much to prove in each of those cockpits. We will focus on the battle for the championship, but at the same time, remember, there is a race here as well. And remembering, too, that throughout the field, there are many drivers here with something to prove, looking for a further career in the Indy cars. We'll try to keep you abreast of all those stories. So now, behind the PPG pace cars, the Indy cars are ready to roll out. Paul Tracy and Michael Andretti are away. Back at the Kodalux Processing 300 Laguna Seca Raceway, the field out and rolling on their parade laps. The largest field of Indy cars since the Indianapolis 500. Here's the diehard starting grid with Michael Andretti on the pole, the defending champion at Laguna Seca. Alongside is Paul Tracy, a third front row start for this exciting sophomore. He was quickest in the morning warm-up. In the second row, it's Emerson Fittipaldi. He's won 3 of the last 5 IndyCar events. Alongside is Scott Goodyear, the Michigan 500 winner, currently 5th in the points. In row number 3, it is Mario Andretti. Last week, he was voted as the driver of the quarter century. Alongside is Bobby Rahal, a 4-time winner here at Laguna Seca. In row number 4, it's John Andretti, seeking his 2nd career victory on a road course. Alongside Unser Jr., the runner-up here the last 2 years. In row number 5, Scott Pruitt, his final drive for True Sports Racing. And alongside is Eddie Cheever, taking his final ride with the Chip Ganassi team. In row number 6, it's Mike Groff, driving for A.J. Foyt and Jimmy Vasser. In row 7, Raul Boisel and Scott Brayton. The 8th row, Danny Sullivan and Stefan Johansson. Ted Trappis is inside the 9th row with Eric Bachelard alongside. In the 10th row, it's Hiro Mashusta and Brian Till. Row 11, Christian Danner and Didier Tays. In row 12, Willie T. Ribbs and Buddy Lazier. In row 13, it's Dennis Vitolo and IndyCar rookie Tony DiTomaso. And the 14th and final row, Benicio Salmi and Finland's Tero Palmroth. Those are the drivers. Here is the challenge, this wonderful course here at Laguna Seca. Lots of uphills, downhills, and plenty of character.
Laguna Seca is an interesting mixture here of slow, medium, and high-speed corners. There are numerous surface changes here also. And in fact, the older surface is very abrasive and it wears these racing tires out at an alarming rate. Unusual elevation changes here are a unique feature at Laguna Seca, but the most famous corner of all here is the Corkscrew. Here it is here. It's still a shocker to first-time participants here at Laguna Seca. The most popular passing area, well, it's right down after this corner here, the braking zone for turn 11.
And you ride on board here, one of our onboard cameras with Scott Brayton. You can see as they run in here, Derek, brakes there and then sweep to the left.
And this is the key. Brayton is wide now. It leaves the door open down the inside. That's where we see the brave passing moves. That's the area we're going to watch all afternoon.
So we'll have views for you from Scott Brayton's camera. This view looking out the back of Bobby Rahall's camera. Unser Jr. will have one looking head on at him, of course, one over his shoulder as well. You can see it right there. And then Michael Andretti, of course, is one of the big contenders. You'll be looking over his right-hand shoulder. And we also have a second camera, which is mounted looking rearward along the left side of his car. So plenty of onboard camera coverage for you here today. In the pits, of course, we have Jan Beekes and Gary Gerald. And for some last-minute updates, let's start with Jan.
That's right, Paul. A quick update on the Walker Motorsports crew and Scott Goodyear. In the final morning warm-up this morning, they blew an engine. That's 2 this weekend. They changed that engine in 1 hour and 13 minutes. They will not know for sure until the green flag flies whether everything is okay with that. They're waiting here to find out whether that Chevy A will do the job. Let's go down to Gary Gerald.
Jan, we've talked a lot about the pressure on the drivers in the championship hunt. It sounds like a cliche, but the pressure is felt by every member of the team on this side of the pit wall. They know that if they can get their driver 1 or 2 second advantage here on pit road in the 2 expected stops today, it could be the difference between a championship or an also ran. It's electric down here as we get ready. They'll be coming down the hill and turning round corner 11, headed for Nick Finoro in a green, Paul. The excitement builds as this season comes to its climax now.
The weather couldn't be better. They talked about this course as a possible Formula One circuit in the U.S. You tell me there aren't Formula One fans here? As they wish Michael the best as he moves to McLaren in Formula One for next year. What we look ahead to, 84 hard-fought laps. Race record on this, a newer circuit for the past couple of years, 103.6 miles an hour. We expect the stops at about lap 33, though they're open all the way to 35. How do they do on natural terrain circuits? Michael Andretti? Here's how he's done this year. And then Bobby Rahal. Consider that he's had an excellent year on other portions of the course, but not on the road courses. But weigh that off with the fact that Bobby Rahal has won 4 times on this circuit. And now the field begins to roll up the hill. Nick Finoro has the green flag, and we are ready and running at Laguna Seca, California, as already Michael Andretti shows what he is capable of. Drops across the front of Paul Tracy. Emerson Fittipaldi drops into 3rd place. That's Scott Goodyear that is in 4th now.
Michael got the all-important drop on Paul Tracy. He knew well that Paul Tracy is of the brave, aggressive style, just like Michael's, and Paul Tracy knew if he could outbrake Michael into the first corner, he might beat him. Michael took the advantage.
All of the field safely through the first 3 sets of turns. Michael Andretti continues to lead and pull away. Right behind him is Tracy. There's Fittipaldi. Look at Unser Jr. though, as he starts his charge up to the front. He moved inside of Scott Goodyear on that last corner. Now they begin to climb the hill.
The opening laps when the tires are very cool, the brave drivers can pull off some unusual moves. Al Jr. is doing that on this opening lap.
Down through the Corkscrew for the first time as the elevation falls off very rapidly. This is a roller coaster ride for the drivers. Down to a right-hand turn. Paul Tracy runs in 2nd. Michael begins to inch away here on this first lap. The pit entrance is right on this part of the circuit as well.
On the opening laps, if you can pull away a little cushion on the 2nd place car, it often gives you that type of advantage you need and secure to give you a continuing advantage for the rest of the race. But Michael Andretti is always, we know, we've seen many times, spectacular in the early parts of these races.
Emerson Fittipaldi and then Mario Andretti sits behind Emil in 4th place. Then Scott Goodyear. Unser Jr. was not able to resolve that battle in his favor and has fallen back behind Goodyear.
This is the infield section here. Very fast right-hander, 160 miles an hour through there. Then a quick braking area.
And as we watch Mario, we wonder what role might he play in this day. Could he be a blocker for his son and help him along with the championship? Behind Scott Goodyear, there is Bobby Rahal appearing for the first time as he tries to work his way up so carefully to the front of the field. We ride with him now.
This is the uphill run to the Corkscrew. Slowest part of the racetrack. And the downhill run. This is like a roller coaster here. It gets faster and faster the further down the hill he goes.
And one car off and on the course very quickly. Yellow flag only in that zone as he gets off and on. And now we're back with Bobby Rahal. Rahal runs in 6th place. There's the top of the order, with Michael Andretti leading from the green flag, which was a little bit of a surprise here at Laguna Seca. The Kodalux Processing 300K continues at Laguna Seca. The battle for the IndyCar Championship. Scott Goodyear, running in 5th place, continues to worry Mario Andretti, sitting just ahead of him. At the front of the order, it is Michael Andretti and then Paul Tracy, followed by Tracy's teammate Emerson Fittipaldi.
Great performance by Scott Goodyear here, still ahead of Bobby Rahal as we watch him here. So little testing done by this team, and by far their best road course qualifying, and Rahal has to follow him. That's the rear wing of the McKenzie car, and Rahal has followed him lap after lap now and is not able to make up that deficit to Goodyear.
Closest fight on the course right now is this three-way battle led by Scott Goodyear at this point. You can see Eddie Cheever closing in as well. This is where the point contenders run at this moment in the race, and we'll keep you updated in this way throughout the run as well. Bobby Rahal, of course, running where he is, really has to move up because Michael Andretti is in the point scoring position at this moment.
Now, something we're going to watch for here is all throughout the testing that the teams did before race weekend here, they found that the tire wear was phenomenal, particularly on the older surfaces that they're on right now. It's very abrasive. It wears the rubber away. So everybody is mindful that the handling may change on these cars. So they're going to let things settle down and see how good or bad the handling becomes on these individual cars.
Report from the course marshals earlier that Eddie Cheever there in the 9 car got together with Scott Pruitt in the opening lap, so we're watching his car for possible damage. You can see that behind him with John Andretti and the rest, a nice battle is developing here. Looking there, you can see the damage on the side of that car. Now, let's go to Gary Gerald, get an update on this machine.
Paul, after that contact, there was concern that Cheever may have had some of the plumbing, either the oil cooler or radiators in the left side pod, damaged, but the crew thinks that everything is all right. Eddie continues out there on course. It's a battle, we understand, for 8th, 9th, and 10th positions.
Exactly what it is, and there's nothing on that car that seems to be slowing Eddie down.
Difficult weekend for Cheever. Broke a drive flange in the early session, missed that, and that is critical on road courses when you miss a complete practice session because you tend to fall further and further behind your competition.
Just behind Bobby Rahal, that is, of course, Eddie Cheever, and then John Andretti follows him as we watch the leaders come through. Here comes Mario Andretti running in 4th place with that entire battle lined up behind him, and they are all closing on one another.
They are closing. Good tight battle here. Mario said this morning he really likes the handling of the car. They think they have a very good race car. He really had no complaints whatsoever. The only thing he was thinking about was the outcome, not from his point of view, but obviously from Michael's.
Working lap number 5, approaching that critical point that Derek already mentioned, where the tires may begin to change, and that might change the complexion of the race. Let's take a look at this view from Unser Jr.'s on board.
This is the start of the race. So you can see a traffic jam. Look what happens here. A stone flies up from one of the, it looks like Mario's car, smashes the camera lens, and then he continues to try and make that move to the inside. That's why you have bulletproof visors on the helmets that these drivers use in these cars.
It doesn't take much, and with the sand and gravel that's off the edge of this course, anything that gets pitched backwards gets pitched back at an amazing velocity.
And if you watch the in-car cameras regularly, you can see that we do have a screen that can clean off dirt. I'm sorry, we don't have anybody that can fix glass.
Then after the rock hit our lens, didn't bother little Al, but watch this.
Whoa, that is the turn 6 area on the run up to the Corkscrew, and look what Al Jr. did. Try to get inside didn't make the move and put himself offline and went straight across the groove off into the dirt. A risky move to make, but lucky that he got away with it.
At the front it remains Michael Andretti being chased now by Paul Tracy, and Paul is beginning to close in. This is the 13th time this year that Michael Andretti has led the opening lap of the race, and he has not given up that position since the green flag now 7 laps ago. Let's go pit side again. Jan Beekes.
Well, Paul, the Newman-Haas team had 2 agendas in qualifying. One was to make sure that Michael Andretti got pole position, and secondly, to make sure that Mario Andretti out-qualified Bobby Rahal. Later on in the race, that could be very important. Not to say that Mario would block him. However, obviously, if you drive a car in a certain way, it makes it very difficult. It gives them another player in the championship. So as far as Newman-Haas is concerned, everything exactly according to plan so far. Paul?
One of the spectators here this weekend is Nigel Mansell, who will step into Michael Andretti's car for next season, the reigning world champion in Formula One. And one of the things he mentioned last night at dinner to me was that he really enjoys the camaraderie, the easygoing spirit of this, and the fact that most of these teams don't race as teams, they race as individual cars. But today at Newman-Haas, we could see some teamwork.
Oh, absolutely, we can see teamwork. Remember, these championships are so vital. We touched on it in the opening. There is such a huge amount of financial benefits that goes to a team that is on top. Everybody likes to follow the winner and the team that's on top. Well, Michael's on top now, but look at Tracy inch ever closer as these laps go on here.
8 laps complete. Michael Andretti has led from the green. The championship battle continues. At this moment, it is being controlled by Michael Andretti. Not far from here on the Monterey Peninsula, the beautiful 17-mile drive, and this is the famous Lone Cypress, standing alone out on the rocks at the edge of the Pacific Ocean. Inland, it's this battle that continues with Paul Tracy trying to catch Michael Andretti. And at the moment, it is still a matter where Michael Andretti holds firmly onto a championship crown, but Bobby Rahal is trying to inch his way forward. Interestingly enough, these are not the fastest cars on the circuit. The fastest car throughout the entire early run has been that car sitting back in third, number 5, Emerson Fittipaldi. As they encounter Buddy Lazier and move around him on the circuit, we're at a point now where with the sun shining down, the tires are in question, and they're also running in traffic.
That's right. I think these Penske cars are very well set up here for these conditions. I think Paul Tracy is going to be able to inch nearer to Michael. Mario, one of the complaints he had this morning was that when the tires do go off, the rear tires go first. Oh, as we watch Rahal, he's all over the back of Goodyear here, but as the rear tires go off, the cars get loose. And of course, when you get a loose condition, it only gets worse as the race goes on.
Rahal, of course, needs 4th position. If he is to score a championship, that's 2 positions up from here. Look at the 2 of them locked between Tracy and Michael Andretti as they come past traffic at the back of the field in the first corner.
Michael is very, very difficult to pass. He's very good at defensive driving. We'll watch his line because he will tighten up the entry to the corners, making it very difficult for Tracy to make a move down the inside. But remember, Tracy is one of the bravest men now in racing. Style very much like Michael.
And Unser Jr. at the edge of the course, pointed backwards. Looks like he lost it in the first turn, and if he can only get it going,
and he's
got to get back in the fight. But is the engine dead, or does he have to wait for traffic?
Well, he's got to wait for traffic if the engine's running, but I'm not sure. It looks, no, it's not running. He's dead. He's going to have to get a tow truck.
And there comes the IndyCar safety team to give him help and get him started. But this could be the final moment for Unser Jr. in any bid at all he may have had for the championship. He was running 10th. He's falling further backward.
They did such a good job all year to bring this new development Galmer car, but as we watch him here, the championship is going out the window.
And look at little Al. He says, go, push me, get me out of here as fast as you can. They've got him started. The engine restarted quickly. That was very lucky on a warm day for little Al. He's back into the fight.
That's one of the nice things Mansell will enjoy next year. If ever he spins and stalls the engine, he can get a push start. In Formula One, your day is over if you stop the engine.
So now 12 laps are complete. Michael Andretti is still the leader of the race. An interesting report that Paul Tracy very soon may head for the pits. If he does so, it would be plenty early, and that would mean that the question about tires is finally a very real problem.
That would be an interesting piece of strategy. We're going to have to wait to see what happens, but definitely in a traffic situation, Tracy lost out to Michael. Let's just watch now, if they both stay in clear road, how long it takes Tracy to claw back up to the rear wing of Michael, if he's able to do it.
Moving toward the pits here is a strong commitment. There you see Roger Penske and the team waiting for Paul Tracy. He would have to swing way wide on the exit of this corner, which he does, and he heads down the pit road. His pit is just around this corner. Gary Gerald is there.
Paul, you talked about the tire wear. This is visual evidence. This is very early. They're now committed to a 3-stop race. Tracy watching intently as Penske gives him the hold sign. A problem momentarily at the left front. Now everybody's clear. He comes off the jacks in 10.7 seconds. Excellent stop for Tracy.
Spectacular performance by that Penske crew. Of course, they're among the best. Jerry Breon back there working the right rear. Another car under tow at the edge of the course in the first turn, and you can see Paul Tracy rejoins in that battle at the bottom of the top 10. Actually rejoins the course in 8th place. So while he lost second, he really didn't fall that far backward.
Well, I can't quite grasp yet why they could make a decision that the tires had gone off, because he was running every bit as fast as Michael. So we're going to have to wait to see how this plays out. I thought for a minute maybe he ran a light fuel load, and that put him out of sync with the pit stops. But however, that's an unusual move by Roger Penske. Hey, he's made unusual moves in the past and has come out on top on a gamble.
To commit him to a 3 pit stop race, at first blush, it's pretty hard to figure out what that strategy might be.
Here's an interesting situation. Rahal again, under heavy braking, closes right up behind the rear wing of Scott Goodyear's car. But look what happens here. This is the downhill run to the fast left-hander. Goodyear seems to be able to pull out a nice cushion. And here's the critical area here for Rahal. He's too far behind Goodyear to make a legitimate passing move down the inside.
And of course, with Scott Goodyear in front, running in 4th place, that's exactly the position that Bobby Rahal needs. If Rahal can get there, then he can grasp that championship crown as well. Let's just ride for a little bit here and listen to Bobby Rahal as he moves through the gears and around Laguna Seca.
See Rahal there, catches the correction of the car. That car is already loose. Oversteering.
And the sweep down through the corkscrew for Bobby Rahal as he continues pursuit of Scott Goodyear. Let's get an update on Paul Tracy's pit stop from Gary Gerald.
Paul, there was concern about a possible flat spot on the tires for Tracy. They pulled the set off. We could see no visual evidence of any flat spots. They've looked the tires over. He was concerned. They've retired him. As we mentioned, it's committed now to a 3-stop race. That's why they were in early. Let's go to Jan Beekes.
Well, Gary, you talk about flat spots. We've checked in with the Gallus-Craco crew. Unser Jr. stalled because he spun. They laid out new tires, expected him to make a pit stop to replace those flat-spotted tires. Unser Jr. did not come in. He did not want to commit himself to a 3-stop race. He's still obviously a championship contender. Feels that a 3-stop race really takes you out of the running. Paul?
So with that change at the front of the order, Michael Andretti leads and Emerson Fittipaldi is second.
Just to follow up on what a flat spot is, if Paul Tracy locked up those brakes, he locks the wheel in one position, it rubs off the ground, rubs a flat spot on the tire, and you get a bad vibration.
So Paul Tracy rejoins the fight in 8th place. It's John Andretti that is just in front of him, and then that battle that is Cheever, Rahal, and Goodyear sits about 100 yards ahead on the course. Paul Tracy now has to make up time as best he can as he sweeps down through the corkscrew. At the top of the order, Michael Andretti is still very much in command here, but Emerson Fittipaldi has been the fastest car on the course thus far. Here's the way the race sets up in the Kodalux Processing 300 with Michael Andretti being chased by Emerson Fittipaldi. And you can see the intervals there down behind the leader, Michael Andretti. Fittipaldi 63 hundredths of a second back. 17 laps of the 84-lap scheduled distance complete. Paul Tracy in and out very early on, thinking that he had a tire problem, but one they have not yet been able to identify. Nevertheless, they changed the tires on the car. That let this man, Emerson Fittipaldi, move up into second place behind Michael Andretti, and both of them have been working their way through traffic the last several laps. And traffic definitely plays a part and is playing a part right now. Emerson, in fact, is a lot further back from Michael than he was earlier because he got caught behind Unser Jr. on the run uphill to the Corkscrew. Al Jr. not having a good day because the leaders easily blew him off. And Bobby Rahal sits just behind Scott Goodyear. You'll get a glimpse of him here in just a moment. And Rahal in that position, if he can move to fourth, then the championship would be his at the end of the day. He needs only the fourth place, as we had mentioned at starting. This car, Emerson Fittipaldi, number 5, has been turning laps above 108 miles an hour, the fastest car on the circuit by far. He has the fastest lap of the day at 108.5. And the average speed of the leader, Michael Andretti, has been 106.8. That's 3 miles an hour faster than last year's track record. And Emerson chasing Michael, trying to make a pass for the lead. We've seen that earlier this year. We've seen how difficult it is to make the pass. And the more this goes on, the more the onus of the race outcome falls to the pit lane, to the crews, because very often, we've said it in the past, the pit lane and the crew, how well they work, can actually help or hinder whether you make the pass or not. So Michael Andretti runs at the front of this field. The last race of the season concludes IndyCar racing for Michael as he moves on to Formula One for '93. Gary Gerald discusses the sentiment that goes along with Michael's last race.
It's a strange feeling, you know. It's a mixed feeling. I love IndyCar racing. I love the people in it, and I've loved driving for Carl Haas and driving with my dad as a teammate. And it's all going to come to an end, and we're going to start something new, and hopefully it's going to be a positive step for me, but in the end I'm going to miss everybody.
What has driving with your dad meant to your driving career?
I think it's something that happened that will never ever be able to be duplicated again in my life. I think it's something we'll always look back on and cherish these last 4 years as being father and son team.
Michael Andretti. And by the way, everyone here is wishing Michael well. As a matter of fact, there are a number of people wearing giant buttons that say good luck in Formula One, Michael. You've seen the signs all around the edge of the track. While they're going to miss him, they're very excited that he has this opportunity. Look at Bobby Rahal as he ducks inside of Willie T. Ribbs and continues his battle with Ribbs' teammate Scott Goodyear. And Michael's official season in Formula One will start next month in November in a test at Silverstone. And I told him this morning I'd like to talk to him afterwards to see how his neck is, because Silverstone is such a fast racetrack. Michael was very physically fit 2 years ago. He was in a full exercise program, and then he backed off it a little bit. Not to say that he doesn't look fit today, but he's not quite as muscular around the neck and shoulders, and he may need that again when he gets to F1. He won't like you saying that. But he can do it. Did he buy you dinner last night? What I said is that he knew how to do it. No, Michael, I think, went home very early last night to prepare for today. Rahal looks to be fighting the car. Oh, this is a great battle again. And again, the Corkscrew is where they close up. But now look at Goodyear. He has to cope with traffic here. This is our favorite turn 11 spot. Oh, Goodyear shoots down the inside. Very carefully, they move down the inside as well and have to move around the slower traffic just behind them, but both stay in contact as they climb the hill across the start-finish line and alongside the pit. Oh, look at this. This is getting dicey here. Now, remember, Goodyear's position is the safety comfort zone for Rahal. If he can get that position, he will win the championship, irrespective of what anybody else does. Now, look ahead out of this camera. The car in front on the right there, Scott Goodyear, because they're reporting we've got a car into the wall. It looks to be Scott. No, that looks Brian Till. Brian Till has caught the barrier up at the top of the hill coming as you begin to climb up toward the Corkscrew. But the report, what I was going to say, is that Scott Goodyear, the corner workers, are reporting a possible fire at the back of his car. Remember, Jan Vikas told you earlier he had a similar problem in the warm-up this morning. And we're looking for Goodyear now, and you see he is behind Rahal. So while the situation with Till occurred, Rahal was able to get around him, but it may not have mattered because we do anticipate a black flag to Scott Goodyear to tell him to come into the pits, and that's exactly what he's doing right now, to take a look at the back of that car. So let's watch as he comes to a stop and see if we can see what the officials were looking at. You see one of the IndyCar officials jumping down right there. There is Billy Camphouse and another IndyCar official as they swarm at the back of the car, fire extinguishers in hand to make sure that this is not a serious problem. This, of course, is exactly what Bobby Rahal needed. Though Rahal did get past him on the course, it was because Scott Goodyear was already slowing down. And now the crown changes hands. Bobby Rahal is in the position to leave this day as the champion.
Difficult situation for Goodyear. Remember, Jan Beekes told us earlier about that huge blow-up in the morning warm-up. That was only a couple of hours ago, and that, unfortunately, has probably been some of the root cause of his being possibly out of this race.
So hard to change something as complex as an IndyCar racing engine without getting everything aligned properly, all the hoses connected, and do it in a hurry. It's a very complex piece of machinery.
And of course, we don't know at this stage whether something fell off, something got loose, or else they had another engine problem.
So Bobby Rahal is now exactly where he wants to be, 4th place. That is the position from which he can grasp the championship. Back at the Laguna Seca Raceway, where the yellow flag has just been posted for the entire course. The PPG pace cars will come out. But if the race series points were to be awarded, now you saw it. Bobby Rahal has the points, and we've got a stop by Michael. Gary Gerald is there.
We watch with the crew over the wall. The full course yellow caught these folks by surprise. They're a couple of laps earlier than we expected. We see no changes on the configuration at the front wing for Michael Andretti. Everything routine with the new tires and fuel, and he's gone.
13.2 seconds, and Michael Andretti is away. Emerson Fittipaldi takes a little longer, almost 16 seconds, 15.8. And here is Bobby Rahal, Jan Beekes.
Bobby Rahal puts it right down on the marks. The crew has been awaiting this. They have made tire pressure changes, Paul. That means that Rahal has radioed in with a handling problem. They let some air out of the rear tires. They're waiting for the last bit of fuel. There's lots of commotion down here. Rahal, very smooth, underway. Paul?
Mario Andretti came out of the pits, and right in front of him, Paul Tracy roared out as well. So everybody at the top of the order has made their first stop of the day. Paul Tracy has made 2, but despite that, Tracy came out of the pits at least in 4th place.
Well, talk about harem-scarem time. It can happen anywhere, going into the pits or coming out. Emerson almost got the rear wheels. Watch this under acceleration. That's Mario Andretti behind him. Emerson drops the clutch, gets it sideways. Now look at the rear wheel of Rahal's car. Just gets away with it and comes out in front of Mario. Look at Mario shake his fist at Emerson. Harem-scarem time again.
Paul Tracy, as he comes out there, shifts up through the gears, the back end wiggles, and now they join the line underneath the full course yellow flag with the PPG pace cars. The pace car, by the way, driven by Johnny Rutherford, 3-time Indianapolis champion and former IndyCar champion. Driving that car, the drivers appreciate having someone like that behind the wheel, especially on a complex course like this one. Now, what about Scott Goodyear's day and his problem? Let's go to Jan Beekes.
Well, Paul, Scott Goodyear has been here on pit road. Scott, what put you out?
Well, it looks like with that motor change after we lost the motor this morning, we ended up having a header break. We didn't get a chance to run the motor in at all, but the guys on the team did a great job changing motors so quickly. We're out of the hunt.
Next year, you're back with this team. You are getting ready to make that announcement, staying with Derek Walker. Will you be able to continue? You've run so great for a low-budget team.
Well, I think that we've proven that we have the will to win, which is very important. And led by Derek Walker and his group of guys, I think we're going to come back and be stronger next year.
Thank you, Scott. Paul?
If he comes back and is stronger next year, look out, because he's one of the rising stars. This is the Corkscrew. It is, in fact, here at... Oh, and we've got a problem in the pits. As Scott Brayton, you heard a squeal of brakes. It sounded like he got around. The onboard camera shows him there as he tries to get moved. They have to get some tires out of the way.
And a huge amount of time lost here. He lost it under braking, it seems, on the way into his pit.
Jan Beekes.
Well, Paul, when I was just finishing with Scott Goodyear, you also heard the screeches. What happened was Scott Brayton came in, got mixed up with Hiro Matsushita, and got the thing turned completely backwards. It looks as though the car will be okay. They've lost a lot of time. However, remember, it's full course caution right now. Scott Brayton, if he can beat the pace car out, won't have lost too much time. But boy, it was harem-scarem, to use Derek's phrase here a minute ago. Paul?
I'll tell you what, it shows how calm and collected you can be on Vickers, because despite hearing it, I just assumed somebody was locking the brakes on a stop. He didn't even break stride. Scott Brayton is back into the fight. Now, we were saying that this is the Corkscrew, and it, in fact, is the signature turn here at Laguna Seca Raceway with its tremendous elevation change. Gary Gerald earlier took a look at this world-renowned set of turns.
There are three critical factors that a driver has to be aware of and conquer every time he challenges the Corkscrew on every lap here at Laguna Seca. The first of them relates to the blind entry here at the top of the hill. Keep in mind that the cockpit is only 16 inches off the asphalt. As he makes that initial turn to the left, the outside or the right front wheel wants to lift in the air, and for a split second the driver can't really see the line that he wants to pursue. And then he has to apply the power at the precise moment so he doesn't get excess wheel spin at the rear as the car lands and settles into place. Second thing he has to be concerned about is this curbing right here. Run a wheel up against the curbing, you disturb the balance of the race car. Not only do you lose time, but you run the risk of losing control. Third thing the driver has to be concerned with is this dramatic change in elevation. From the top of the hill at the Corkscrew entry to the bottom at turn 11 is a fall of 160 feet. That's the equivalent of a 16-story building. Driver will negotiate this series of curves in just under 3 seconds. Watch how quickly this ball picks up speed now as it slides down through the turns of the Corkscrew. Some drivers admit that they love the challenge of this twisty Corkscrew. Others say they loathe it. But love it or loathe it, there's no question. The challenge of the Corkscrew is unlike any other road course anywhere in the world.
And as a matter of fact, in today's terms, if they were to build that track today, they wouldn't build the Corkscrew, would they? All right, we're watching Scott Brayton. This was as he came in to the pit area under this full course caution just a moment ago, and this is what happened to him.
You heard him accelerate, and then when he got on the brakes, he locked up the rear brake, and immediately the car does a 180. Here it is again. Now he's following traffic in. But remember, this is still part of the racetrack in a way, so you gotta not, you don't want to lose too much time. Locks the brake right here. That's it. It's all lost. Does a 180. Look how much he missed the crewman on Matshusta's car by.
And as a matter of fact, since that is a team car, that crew was able, in fact, to come around and give him some help. So now we continue under full course caution for Brian Till's accident. We'll be back for the green. Still under a full course yellow at the Kodalux Processing 300 with Michael Andretti at the front of the field after the first set of stops. Fittipaldi just behind him. Paul Tracy moving back up into the fight. Mario Andretti in fourth, sitting just in front of Bobby Rahal, but with Rahal back down in fifth place. So he lost a position on those pit stops, and it is a position that Rahal would like to get back so that he can assure a championship. Michael Andretti is lined up just behind the pace car. And if the points were to be awarded right now, Michael Andretti and Bobby Rahal would be in a tie. And Emerson Fittipaldi, then Unser Jr., Scott Goodyear. Now, what that means is now that the tie is resolved by the number of wins, and that might end up even at the end of the day, so you have to go to second place, maybe even to the number of third place finishes to determine who the champion would be. To make it simple for everybody, Bobby Rahal really needs to come up that one position.
Well, we said it earlier, that's the comfort zone he needs. He needs to have the championship fight in his own destiny. He's got to get fourth place to be able to have control of his own destiny.
Michael Andretti picked the pace up plenty early as he came sweeping down the hill, and the pace car came off the course, and they are going back to the green flag with the Penske team fighting between itself for second and third place. Fittipaldi second, Tracy third. Mario Andretti, now Bobby Rahal comes down the hill as John Andretti makes a move inside of Eddie Cheever, and John Andretti gets Cheever. That's Unser Jr. lined up just behind him. So on that start, John Andretti got a great roll on Cheever, and in doing so got past.
He did get past, taking advantage again of a brave move when you're not on warm tires up to full operative temperature. It's a brave move and a risky move, and he did manage to pull it off. But now Tracy is back in the hunt here for this race. Remember, they're all on fresh tires. The cars are very good for at least 5 or 6 laps.
And Tracy, of course, when he made his stop under that caution, is back in sequence with the rest of the field. So they have all completed, in essence, their first stop of the day. And Paul Tracy managed it under the full course caution, as did everyone else. So he's back in the cycled order. Bobby Rahal, 5th place. In front of him, Mario Andretti. We haven't mentioned Mario much today, but he's looking very strong.
Looks very strong, and now Rahal is replaced the battle with Goodyear. Mario slips into that position, and it will be very difficult for Rahal to pass Mario. He is the master at driving defensively. Remember, they're fighting for position, so Mario is entitled to whatever piece of road he wants to use, and he will make it difficult for Rahal.
And of course, Mario has something to gain in doing so. It is, after all, his son that leads this race, and his son that he would like to see go on to a championship. So they could be playing some team tactics here in the Newman-Haas stable. One name missing here today is Rick Mears. He's watching from the edge of the track in the pit area, still nursing that right wrist as a result of his crash at Indianapolis. Gary Gerald's right there.
Rick, you've been a many-time IndyCar champion. You know the emotions that the title contenders are going through right now. What's in the mind of a Bobby Rahal and a Michael Andretti at this stage?
Well, it's definitely a lot of pressure right now, and it's a little agonizing. But you really, at this point, I think you have to wait and see how the race is going to unfold. It's still unfolding at this point, and you still have to wait, see what your car's like, think about some changes you can make to make the car better to have your best shot at the end, which is where you need it. So right now, it's a little bit of a cat and mouse game. See what the other guys are doing and try to figure out your best plan.
Now, you keep a close eye on Paul Tracy. Did that early stop at all hurt him?
I don't think so at all. They're bunched right back up now. He's only one position off of where he was, right behind Emerson. The team did a tremendous job getting him out ahead of Mario, so we're in good shape.
And I assume that we'll see you back in the race car in 1993.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks, Rick. Thank you. Paul?
Rick Mears, the 1989 winner here at Laguna Seca, which was his last road course win in the IndyCars.
I think the key word in Rick's interview there was race unfold, are the key 2 words. Michael can create the pace and create what happens. Rahal, with the cushion that he has, can wait a little bit for the race to unfold. If he can't force a way past Mario, he's got to wait to see what happens.
We talked, too, about possible team play here as we got a glimpse there behind Paul Tracy of Mario Andretti climbing the hill. With the terrain changes and everything here, how good is the two-way radio communication? Can Mario be very aware of where he is and where everyone else is?
Very aware all times. Radio communications is at such a state of the art right now. You can talk freely, easily, understandably, backwards and forwards, driver to crew chief to driver. And also, as a backup system, he'll have all the information he needs on his pit board.
John Andretti in 6th place after getting by Eddie Cheever on that restart. And you can see Rahal just in front of him, Cheever just behind. Jan Beekes has an update on John.
That's right, Paul. We checked in with team owner Jim Hall and said during that pit stop, they made those tire pressure changes. We have found that is what most of the teams are doing here at this track because the cars are getting loose, just like Derek Daly predicted. In fact, the rear tires are overheating, and they are letting pressure out of the rear tires to try and get grip back. Maybe that's what gave him the advantage, getting by Cheever. Paul?
Back at Laguna Seca, California, here's the interval back from Michael Andretti, the leader of the race. The key element here, of course, though, is that Bobby Rahal is running in 4th, which is where he needs to be, but he is still straddled by Mario Andretti and John Andretti. In fact, Andretti's are running 1st, 3rd, and 5th in this track, and all of these guys have something to prove. Rahal would love to get past Mario and be a little more solid in his positioning. This gentleman, Emerson Fittipaldi, has fairly serious problems, Gary Gerald.
Well, Paul, the man who's won 4 this year and was in the championship up through Nazareth finds himself now with a throttle linkage problem. At first they thought it was electronics. They changed the electronics. Then they identified the throttle linkage problem. What they're trying to do is wire the throttle open. It can function if they can get that done. So Emerson patiently waits, if indeed you can be patient in this situation. Let's go to Jan Beekes.
Well, Gary, we are now looking at the nose piece of Scott Pruitt's car that they came in and changed. Keep in mind, this is the last running of this car under the True Sports banner. This car will be used next year by Bobby Rahal. Let's just take a quick second and tell you what Bobby Rahal did as team owner. First of all, he's moving his whole team. He's bought the True Sports organization. What he has done, he first of all offered all of his people who work in Indianapolis jobs in Columbus, Ohio. Then what he did, all those that wanted to stay, he took all the True motorsports mechanics and is actually going to be giving them 2/3 of them jobs on the circuit. So although this whole team, what they did this year was take their last team photo, 2/3 of them are still going to have work with the car that they love very much. Paul?
And Jan, what about the damage to the car, though? Were they able to get it corrected and get Scott back into the fight?
Yes, in fact, most of the damage was limited here to the nose section we were looking at. There may be a little bit of a misadjustment in the suspension, but he should still be able to run pretty well, hopefully to collect a few points.
Bobby Rahal, car 12, fourth place, exactly where he needs to be. It's got to be driving his owner, Carl Hogan, crazy. He's done a lot of racing here. Carl is so animated, so fun to watch at the tracks.
Carl's first test session here was in the early 80s when he brought a Can-Am team here. And, you know, we're in a military zone here. Fort Ord Army Center is right next door to us. They often have training sessions. Well, Carl sat in the pit lane waiting for his Can-Am car to come around turn 11 one time. And all of a sudden, tanks came up over the top of the hill, which really surprised him.
Of course, they do a lot of military maneuvers here at Fort Ord, the home of the 7th Infantry Light. Here, after 35 laps, the Valvoline race summary, Michael Andretti dominating, but that's exactly what he needs to do, what he should do. The average speed of the race with that full course yellow fell below the race record of 103.6 miles an hour. And of course, we had that one full course caution because of the accident involving car 24 and Brian Till. Terrell Pomeroth is out. Scott Goodyear, you heard the report. Willie T. Ribbs, his teammate, is out as well. And we are still waiting for a full update, though we believe it to be good that Brian Till is okay. As soon as we get the official word from the IndyCar Communications Department, we'll let you know that as well. Emerson Fittipaldi is back on the track. He talked about wiring the throttle open. More wiring the throttle so it'll work. It's certainly not a full open throttle.
Oh, no. It would be impossible to drive these cars if you did not have the throttle retard fully whenever you take your foot off the situation. So it obviously wasn't transmission. However, it was a mechanical failure in that throttle linkage system.
We give you now the full field rundown, and Emerson Fittipaldi comes back into the fight well down in the order in 24th place. Gary Gerald on the throttle on Emerson's car. You have an update.
Paul, I think it's a case of clarification, and I'm glad you pointed out we didn't mean to allude that it would be throttle wide open. They wire one of the butterflies open, as we understand it, and that helps get that whole process going. But then you wonder how effectively will the engine be able to run with that butterfly open. That's what Emerson is now finding out.
Well, he's learning a great deal right now. And by the way, the report from IndyCar Communications, Brian Till, was taken to the IndyCar medical coach here on the track for observation, but the first report is that he is all right.
So Michael continues to control the event here. He's very, very good under pressure, not prone to making mistakes at all when he leads races. So now it's up to Tracy to try and claw his way back up to him. However, at the moment, he's a long way behind, over 3 seconds.
Michael Andretti doing everything that's necessary for him to find a championship. At the moment, it's not good enough, despite the fact that he leads the race by a full 3 seconds. And now at the halfway point in the Kodalux Processing 300, we look at the interval leaderboard. Michael Andretti has remained about 3.6 seconds ahead of Paul Tracy for the past several laps. There is no contest currently at the front, despite the fact that Mario Andretti and Bobby Rahal are running that close together. It seems that Bobby seems content with 4th place, which is the position he needs to leave this race with the champion's crown. Now let's take a look at what happened just a few seconds ago. Keep an eye on 47, Brian Till.
Jimmy Vasser tries to slide down the inside of Christian Danner under braking, and watch what happens. Again, he locks the rear brakes. Right here, rear brakes lock up, gets it sideways, now it's lost. Look at Danner. He almost collects Danner on the way, but then Jimmy Vasser backs it off the curve, and that's why the record truck has to go out there.
Thinking about the accident to Brian Till, it is, of course, Jimmy Vasser, who, by the way, has tremendous success on this course and is very well known out here in California for all of his racing exploits. Again, they're looking for a good season again next year at Hey Ho Cole Racing, and they may just get engines and chassis from some of the front runners, and they're looking for a possibility of some Ford power. They did get Jimmy Vasser push-started and back onto the track without incident.
Rick Cole, one of the co-owners, of course, famous for the Rick Cole car auctions, is one of the owners here. He said, yes, there are big plans and exciting plans for this team next year. And Jimmy Vasser, as a driver, is held in very high regard by a lot of people, and I believe he has been supported so far, I think, by Rick Gallis a little bit.
Exactly. And by the way, since you mentioned Rick Cole, at the Palm Springs Vintage Car Race in November, a bunch of us are going to go out and roast Roger Penske there. And of course, all the money goes for the Corvette Museum. It's going to be a great day. It's nice when you can get Roger and he can't respond for about 20 minutes. So Bobby Rahal runs in 4th place, the position that he needs to capture the championship. We asked him, as the points leader, how much confidence he has coming here to Laguna Seca.
Having, well, I guess 12 points is it's a big plus. I mean, it takes a lot of the pressure off on us. We don't have to win. I think we had to win at Nazareth. But here, I mean, 4th. I mean, you got to drive pretty hard to finish 4th in one of these things. So it's not as though I can go out and just cruise around and wait for everybody to fall out or expect everybody to fall out. I think we're going to have to go out and we're going to have to pass people and get to the front. And starting 6th is a little bit of a disappointment, but I think the car is better than it's showing. And given a good start, I think we can do that.
Michael Andretti, by the way, just clinched the point, the single point given for leading the most laps in the race. As we went over the 43rd lap, we're now working lap 45. Let's go to Bobby Rahal's pit now and an update from Jan Beekes.
Well, Paul, we talk a lot about driver emotions. Think about pit crew emotions. When you're a driver, when you're sitting on the grid, you're getting more and more nervous. And then when the green flag waves, what happens, Paul, is then the nervousness goes. You're working so hard, you don't have a chance to be nervous. These guys here, you can see how they're getting into this race. What's happening? Of course, what we saw was that Rahal got by Mario. You could see the reaction while we were talking. What I'm getting at, Paul, is that their emotions go up and down and up and down. They get more and more nervous as the pit stops approach. Then after they do it, they take a big sigh of relief. Then they know their job is done, but now the tension is building towards the end. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Another update on Emerson Fittipaldi, Jan. He had to make another appearance in the pits. It was one of the series of butterflies that was wired open. That leads to problems with a pop-off or control of the boost. They also had a loose wire on the engine control module, part of the electronics. They got that all clarified, tightened up. He's back on the circuit trying to soldier it out once again.
Emerson Fittipaldi running 23rd once again. But Bobby Rahal, if his job was to take it easy and not take chances, he just violated that rule.
Well, he had a potential headache situation behind him because John Andretti was running so well and so strong and was threatening a move on Rahal. So he was anxious to claw his way past Mario, and he did it in the safest place on the track, down the front straight past the pits, where all his crew members can see him clearly.
So Bobby Rahal decided, Mario Andretti, why don't you let your cousin, or your nephew in this case, worry you for a little bit. I want to get out of this battle. You saw Carl Hogan there, the partner with Bobby Rahal in this team, new this year. Here they were as they climbed up across the start-finish line.
And what happened was, coming out of turn 11, that's where Rahal set Mario up. He got on the power underneath him and was able to draw alongside as he went under the starter stand. And then, of course, look at Mario here. Look, he has a little poke down the inside, and Rahal closes the door.
So Bobby Rahal moves forward, and here it is from his onboard camera as they come off the last corner and onto the pit straight.
Okay, Mario gets held up by traffic. That's what it is. And Rahal gets on the power earlier, and now the pass is already made. It's already over here. Mario slides down the inside. Oh, look at this. Eric Bachelar's car. Well, they'll need one of those MyJack cranes to get that car out of there now, because it doesn't have that front suspension.
Eric, the former Indy Lights champion, climbs out of the MyJack car. You can see that there is severe damage as he's brushed a wall somewhere in this section of the track with the right front. Fortunately, he did climb out without injury, and might have been contact with this machine. That's Tony DiTomaso, who is driving in his first IndyCar race, and he is down through the corkscrew trying to limp his way back to the pits. That tire could do some fairly serious damage to that car if it flails any more than it already is.
You've got to drive very, very slowly back to the pit lane, because loose rubber like that can destroy the bodywork and the suspension of our friend Tony's car here. Tony came from Italy to pick up an IndyCar career here, try and get it off the ground. And I think they'll probably just fix that left rear and send him out again.
So as Tony DiTomaso heads for the pits, Michael Andretti continues to circle here. and better than 107 miles an hour. Racing at Laguna Seca is an all-day affair for racers and spectators alike. You get here nice and early, get the barbecue growing, and boy, you can have a great day here. Lots of good food, plenty of California sunshine, and right now, a spectacular race. Well, here is where the points leaders, the men in the fight, are running right now. Bobby Rahal in third. Michael Andretti leads the field. Unser Jr., after getting restarted, still sits down in 11th place. And the points as they stand now, well, if the World Series points were to be awarded at this moment, Bobby Rahal would take the championship. He's in exactly the position that he needs. Michael Andretti is doing everything he can, but the situation really is more in the hands of Bobby Rahal to make an error than it is for Michael Andretti to do anything more than he already is.
And Michael said he needs a dream weekend, but he also needs help because he needed Rahal to be fourth or worse. Well, he's having his dream weekend so far, as long as Paul Tracy does not begin to give him the headache.
But Paul Tracy is, of course, beginning now to catch the leader of the race. Tracy runs in second place. The 18 car, Danny Sullivan, he runs in 7th place. Best indication is he will remain with Gallus Racing for next year.
Difficult weekend for Sullivan. Missed most of the first session when he had a major engine blow-up. Sullivan was actually recently offered a part in a new TV movie, so he may get a chance to continue his acting career if he should decide to take it or do it.
Danny Sullivan does enjoy attempts at acting. He's been in a couple television series already. Back at the front of the field with Michael Andretti as he works his way through traffic and waves thank you and sweeps down the hill out of the Corkscrew to the final 2 turns on the course.
And Bozell, we saw him try to get under Sullivan in the braking zone, did not actually make that pass, but it's interesting, we did see Michael wave thank you to Scott Goodyear. In a flash, he's able to take his hands off the wheel, wave thank you for the courteous move of Pruitt moving over, and then get on with his job again.
They moved past the 10 machine recently repaired of Scott Pruitt, putting him back into the fight, but Paul Tracy continues to work at the back of Michael Andretti and looking for an opening that he can to try and get any position that he might move past. Here's that pass moments ago between Bozell and Sullivan.
Heavy braking area, turn 1. Bozell tries to sneak down the inside. Look at this. Look what happens. Bozell actually makes the move, and then Sullivan chops back to the inside. It's hard to slow down when you get inside somebody, because remember, you're offline, and although you get the pass made, I can almost say it, you actually have to exit the corner at the same time, which is how Sullivan took it back.
One of the things that this track at Laguna Seca is used for throughout the year is the Russell School of Driving, where they put you in their Formula Fords or their own Russell cars. And that's, by the way, one of the things that they teach in that first turn. Doesn't do any good to pass him in the first part of the turn because he's going to get you back, and we've got a car into the barrier once again.
Tony De Tomaso, our friend, this is the second incident we've seen him involved in. He was obviously able to get back on the racetrack, but Dennis Vitolo, living life on the edge here, looks as if he was also involved in that incident with Tony De Tomaso.
So 2 cars in trouble at lap 53, 84 laps the scheduled distance. Will the officials decide that now it is time to bring out the second full course caution of the day? We'll keep our eye on Nick Finoro and the flag stand. Let's go pit side, Jan Beekes.
Well, Paul, what you're looking at right now is the orange hat of Jim Prescott. That is how Bobby Rahal knows where to stop. If, in fact, we do have a full course yellow, he will be the first person to jump out there. That's where Bobby Rahal knows to stop. His team leader runs out there. He always looks for that orange hat. Paul?
And if you look backwards, you got a glimpse of it for a moment on Carl Hogan's head. There it is again. Look at those headsets, all the electronics in there. They're trying a wonderful new gadget of noise canceling. They feed noise back into the headset that's happening around them. It cancels out the noise already there. I've had that headset on, and it's amazing. Here is Bobby Rahal's team getting ready as a full course yellow comes out, and Carl Hogan directs his team, get those guys back out of the way. We're ready to go into the pits. Michael Andretti makes his turn down into the pits. So Michael Andretti stops the very first pit position. In front of him, Paul Tracy comes in as well.
And here's the hear him, scare him time. Can the crew of Michael keep him in the lead, and what can Penske's crew do?
Michael Andretti on lap 53. They're taking time with the stop. They want to get it perfectly correct. There comes the fuel connector out. The team pushes him away. 15.8 seconds. He gets out ahead of Paul Tracy. Maintains his position as they come up the hill, across the start-finish line, and back into the fight. But remember, it is under a full course caution because they have two cars that need help at the edge of the race course. And here comes Bobby Rahal in, Jan Beekes.
Paul, this is the final pit stop in 1992 for Rahal Hogan Racing. It all comes down to this. This could be the championship. They made a deal with Penske Racing and Emerson Fittipaldi to make sure he wasn't here. He's got a clear shot to get out of here. It's all down to the fuel. Oh, look out, there's three cars up pit lane. Oh, almost sold it. Wow, this is incredible, Paul.
Danny Sullivan right there. Andretti right there. As here comes Bobby Rahal roaring out. He did not get into the side of anybody, and that's some pretty skillful driving on everybody's part.
And if you are faint of heart, do not get involved in even watching live what happens here sometimes. But John Andretti is in trouble here.
John Andretti, as they bring him back to the pits, I don't know if this is an overshoot and they brought him back, or if he stalled pulling away. Here is the situation. This was as Rahal was coming out. Watch John Andretti, the number 8 Pennzoil car down at the bottom.
Here comes Rahal. Mario just squeezes by. Sullivan gives him a bit of room, and Bozell slips in behind both of them.
And as he does that, apparently John had to chock the brakes, kill the engine, and they had to pull him back in. Another view, same situation.
There's Rahal, squeezes out. Sullivan sees him, and now look at John, has to jump on the brakes. Unfortunately, that may have cost John a position, a lot of positions, and he was trying to give Rahal the road he needed.
It in fact drops him down to 9th in the order. Let's go to Jan Beekes.
Well, Paul, I was going to give you an audio update on what happened to John Andretti, but you're so quick. You saw it there. That's what he did. He killed it and got it refired. Hopefully he'll stay on that lead lap.
Right now, John Andretti and Stefan Johansson round out the top 10, and that is the end of the leader lap. Michael Andretti is the leader of the race ahead of Paul Tracy under a full course caution. Back in the Kodalux Processing 300, Laguna Seca, California, the final race of the IndyCar season. You just saw the order. We are under a full course caution while they clean the race course. And during this yellow, we had a flurry of pit stops, and this was the end of one of them.
And Mario just escapes. Rahal almost touches Sullivan, but as Bozell shot into his pit lane, poor John Andretti was forced to get on the brakes and kill the engine. Here it is in real. Oh, whoa! See him fly by, and now there's a lot happening to his inside, his left side at the same time.
And don't look down into your rearview mirrors, Bobby. You won't appreciate what you see behind you. Now look at the way that they have lined up behind the pace car. With Emerson Fittipaldi, the car immediately behind the pace car, but he is running in 21st position. He is 4 laps off of the leader's pace, so he could become a factor in this restart, as well as in the race itself. As they sweep for the final turn, keep an eye on Fittipaldi and Paul Tracy. They could work together. Michael Andretti is between them. Michael Andretti has to look for racing room as the green flag comes out.
Well, Emerson now is going to make things difficult for Michael. Tracy knows that, hopes he gets a bit of help here, but oh, look at Michael. Moves down to the inside to block that braking zone.
It'll be interesting, too, to watch Fittipaldi because in the early laps of the race, he was the fastest car on the course. But as we know, he is suffering with throttle linkage problems. The butterfly's wired full open in some cases, and so he should not be nearly as fast. And the leaders should be on top of him once again very quickly and then trying to get past him.
And Christian Danner is another backmarker who is involved in this leading group, and he actually moved aside, allowed Rahal to go through. So now Rahal has a clear run at Mario.
So the order as they came back to the green flag remains unchanged. Michael Andretti leads the race. Paul Tracy is second. Mario Andretti third. And there's the 12 car, Bobby Rahal. He is in 4th place. Eddie Cheever is 5th. But the key is this man, Bobby Rahal. He's in the position that he needs to be if he is to finish this day with a championship crown.
And Paul Tracy has been one of the stars and the revelations of this season. He only has this opportunity left to take away a win, which will be a tremendous feat. So he doesn't really care what's going on in this championship fight. He wants to just look after himself and try and get by Michael. And if he does, that plays into Rahal's hands.
Paul Tracy, of course, replacing Rick Mears in the number 4 Marlboro car. Started that replacement at the race at Detroit. His primary job with Penske Racing, though, of course, was as a testing driver.
And amusing stories come out of his testing program. He'll leave here in a couple of weeks' time and go to Nazareth and do another 500-mile test.
Whoa, stay on the track, Bob.
But he went to Nazareth one time. It was completely covered in snow. They took the dryer out, cleared the racetrack, and he did a 500-mile test. And all he could use as reference points was the snow. He said it was the weirdest thing, having no or zero reference points except the snow.
Paul Tracy's girlfriend, Sarah, she works in the pits, keeping track of Paul's progress around the circuit. You see him go off and on like that. Is that easy to do, or does that take some doing to be able to keep the car straight and back on the track?
No, it's easy for Tracy because he does it all the time. He's got good practice at it, but now in fairness to him.
What about a mere mortal like you?
I can do it a few times too. Tracy has been superb since Elkhart Lake. We saw him off the road many times at Elkhart Lake, but in fairness to him, he really has been spectacular and superb since then.
Well, of course, he has about the best racing instructor in the world in the person of Rick Mears, who has been rather animated with him. He's been in, they've been talking about it. Rick is not a guy who pulls punches. He'll tell you any secret he has, because if he's going to race with you, he wants to beat you on the racetrack. So he's helping Paul Tracy, as is everyone else on the team. Certainly Roger Penske. Look at the vortice coming off the back of the wing. That's due to the high humidity here in the low pressure area that's created. It creates some condensation, a contrail as it were, at the back of the wing up here today. You're looking at the differential now between Rahal and Cheever. There goes Rahal through. Cheever climbing up just behind him. There he goes.
Rahal came here and tested, left without a happy feeling with the car. Could not get the car to work as well as he wanted on the tires. He and his engineer, Steve Newey, have tried all sorts of changes this weekend, and they believed this morning in the warm-up that they did, in fact, have a good handling race car. However, he's not able to run at the front.
I want to count Formula One champions here at this track: Emerson Fittipaldi, Mario Andretti, and, of course, about to become IndyCar driver Nigel Mansell is a spectator here today, as we watch Paul Tracy make his move around Fittipaldi. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Nigel was watching very closely as Michael got clear of the traffic and is now out at the lead of this pack. Nigel, we welcome you to IndyCar racing. For the American audience who's so excited about your arrival, what was the key that made you decide to go IndyCar racing, to give up Formula One after a world championship?
Well, I think all the credit's got to go to Paul Newman and Carl Haas with the Newman Haas team, and all the boys associated and sponsors. They spoke to me in a very positive manner, and basically I think your racing is very exciting and probably better than ours.
Was it a difficult decision to reach?
It was a decision that took a lot of commitment, obviously with moving the family and having 3 young children, but it's one that I've made and I'm very happy with. And I'd say the one thing I can't get over being here this weekend is just how cooperative all the officials and racers are in the pit lane. It's marvelous.
The reception has been very positive for you. When does the testing begin?
It's been exciting, and the testing will begin in January.
All right, we wish you well. Nice to see you on this side of the pond. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Chloe, Leo, LeGreg. Got to say hello to the kids.
All right, Nigel Mansell now a member of the IndyCar family, Paul.
And of course, we honor him as the reigning world champion. They got a great series going over there, too. I think he's going to enjoy his time in the IndyCars. Back in Laguna Seca, California, Michael Andretti continues to control this race, though Paul Tracy is doing his best to close. Mario Andretti runs almost alone, and then Bobby Rahal, who right now has a hold of the champion's crown, is engaged in a battle with Eddie Cheever. Here's the battle at the front of the field.
Rahal only has one arm around that trophy because Cheever is in a very threatening position here. Over the last 4 or 5 laps, Cheever has inched his way closer to Rahal. And remember, though, Rahal could get some help if Tracy manages to get by Michael.
And, of course, Eddie Cheever at the same time. We look here at the points. If the World Series points were to be awarded now, but Cheever could have a definite impact on the championship. He wants to get around Rahal. He wants that 4th place. Let's go to his pit and Gary Gerald.
And Paul, this team down here, even though Eddie Cheever is making his final drive for Chip Ganassi, is really wired into the moment as he relentlessly puts on the pressure. He's been closing the gaps. He could be the huge spoiler. And incidentally, Eddie Cheever, under his driver's suit, wearing a T-shirt today that says, "We'll race for food." That says something about his 93 plans.
Eddie Cheever always in good humor, despite the fact it is the last ride. We certainly hope that he comes up with something for next season as well, because he has been a delight throughout this racing season. Always handy with a great comment and a good interview. The battle now between Cheever and Rahal. That fight is for 4th place, but it is a fight that could have a positive, or from Rahal's point of view, a negative impact on the championship. While at the same time, at the front of the field, Michael Andretti certainly has to be aware that Paul Tracy is closing in, but Cheever is closing on Rahal even faster.
And Cheever is closing in. This is the battle that we need to watch right now. Rahal has slipped back a little bit. It's not so much that Cheever has suddenly gone faster. Rahal has actually slipped back into the clutches of Eddie Cheever.
Eddie Cheever fell back 2/10 on that. You can get a glimpse there of the damage suffered to the side of Cheever's car in early contact in the race, but not enough damage to slow him down as he continues to bother Bobby Rahal. Back climbing the hill once again.
And what a difficult situation Rahal is in. What a pressure situation. He has to drive absolutely flat out, mindful of who's behind him, hoping that Michael Andretti doesn't in fact succeed the way he does. And think of what he has on the line. He owns this race team.
Down through the corkscrew for Bobby Rahal. We mentioned at the start of this race that Nick Finoro, who has been the starter for every IndyCar race since CART was created, will be retiring at the end of this year. Back in 1948, there was Nicky with his wife and his mom in the White House Tavern in Allentown. Nicky, of course, got into the midgets and the sprinters, and he was a great champion throughout the 50s. And then finally, his winning days behind him, Nick Finoro recognized that it was time to give something back to the sport that had given him so much. So he became a starter, a flagman. He flagged some great racing up and down the East Coast then, too. Great friends like Mario Andretti, A.J. Watson, Sonny Meyer, his green and checkered flag known to all of these drivers. They loved Nicky. They especially liked that at every race, he takes time to walk down the pits just before the start and shake the hands of each and every competitor and wish them the best. And as he leaves IndyCar racing, we wish him the best. Nick Finoro. The fight continues in Laguna Seca, California. I'm Paul Page with Derek Daly, and look at Michael Andretti losing the back end there as Paul Tracy continues his pursuit at the front of the field. In the meantime, Bobby Rahal still has Eddie Cheever lined up behind him. No move made on Cheever's part in the last few laps. This is where the fight is right now, right at the front.
And Paul Tracy, we can see his last lap was actually faster. We can see that on our computer here. He is faster than Michael, but he's got a bad run in traffic, and that can mean so much here. So Michael still continues to control the race here as we watch our race summary.
Michael Andretti has led all the way. He's done everything necessary as he came into this race. He took the pole, led the most laps. Whether or not he can score a championship depends on Bobby Rahal, and Rahal running in 4th is where he needs to be to take the championship. So Rahal at this moment is not giving up anything. The real factor will be Eddie Cheever sitting just behind Rahal, who may try to battle in the closing laps. There's Nigel as he keeps track out from the edge of the circuit.
That's an illegal position. He's the only one that will be allowed to sit out there.
Sad when you're the world champion, do whatever you want.
What sort of a pass do you need to sit on the wall like that?
One that you and I don't have and that I don't want.
And it takes years of Formula One to earn.
They climb the hill again. Paul Tracy continues to close in. Here comes Mario up the hill. There's Bobby Rahal. And then Didier Taze sits between Rahal and Eddie Cheever at the moment, so Rahal has some breathing room.
And Didier Taze will move over because he will know he's not in a fight with Eddie Cheever. Didier Taze, very few races this year, backed again by Kinko's, but he's having a reliable run, let's say, today.
All pit stops are complete. The run now is to the finish of the 1992 IndyCar season, with a battle for the lead between Michael and Paul Tracy, and a battle between Bobby Rahal and Eddie Cheever for 4th. It could affect the championship. Battle at the front of the field continues with Michael Andretti, Paul Tracy just behind him. In fact, in the past few seconds, Paul Tracy has closed in just a little bit more. That fight for the moment with Bobby Rahal and Eddie Cheever has broken off, though Rahal seems to be closing on Mario Andretti. So Michael's father could enter into this picture as well. But look at Paul Tracy as they come through the first turn. He is right at the back of Michael Andretti. And Paul Tracy would desperately love to win this race to leave this season with his first IndyCar victory.
And here is the pressure cooker situation for Michael Andretti. The pressure's being turned up as Tracy inches closer. Now, if Tracy makes a move down the inside, Michael has to win this race, so he will make it as difficult as possible for Tracy, and he will fight him tooth and nail because Michael has to win or else nothing else matters here.
Of course, there is an engine and a chassis battle at stake here as well. In the lead car, Michael Andretti, Ford Cosworth Power Lola chassis, a Penske chassis with the new Chevrolet engine, the C engine, just behind him, and with Roger Penske with a great deal on the line in Paul Tracy's machine.
And of course, the owners doing battle again. Carl Haas, the two Carls, Carl Haas and Hogan. Haas, of course, been in it for many, many years. Carl Hogan returning and having a spectacular and enjoyable year back as co-owner with Bobby Rahal.
Of course, it's partnership in both cases. Carl Haas's partner, Paul Newman, is right there in the pits watching the race. Look at Paul Tracy smoke the light side of the car as he comes into the first turn. And Carl Hogan's partner is Bobby Rahal in the cockpit.
And that's how you get flat spots. We mentioned that at the start of the show. When you lock up those front wheels, it flattens an area on the wheel. If you do it too much, you get such a bad vibration. You either slow down or you go to the pit lane.
Take a look at the pits. Sandy Andretti. She keeps track of Michael as he moves to the closing laps of this race. We can tell a little bit about vibration by watching the rear wing on Paul Tracy's car. That might tell us whether or not he was flat spotting the tires. Looks fairly smooth right now as he climbed the hill, though.
Michael makes very few mistakes. He's great in these pressure situations. He loves leading. If the car isn't good, he will fight and fight and fight and make it difficult for Tracy. So, and Tracy knows that. But if anybody else, Tracy is one of the spectacular people who will take a chance, even if Michael leaves the door even halfway open. Tracy will pounce.
So the battle at the front continues. In the meantime, what about Bobby Rahal and his run for the championship, Jan Beekes?
Well, we're standing by with Carl Hogan. Carl, it's coming down to the end. You're right where you want to be right now in fourth. I'm sure you'd rather be a little further up. Now it's coming down. What are your emotions?
Well, we don't care how it is as long as it's fourth, so it doesn't matter where we'd like to be. We just want to finish at least fourth.
Now he's starting to move up on Mario. Is the car feeling better?
Yeah, we've run a conservative race with fuel, and we're starting to turn the wick up a little bit, and I think it's starting to change, showing the times now.
Thank you, Carl. Paul?
So Bobby Rahal still in fourth place, exactly where he wants to be. If he stays there, he leaves this race as the IndyCar champion for 1992. Michael Andretti, he's done everything absolutely necessary. He's led every lap here, sat on the pole, taken the point for the most laps. But it's all in Rahal's hands now. For Michael Andretti to win a championship, Bobby Rahal is going to have to make a desperate mistake.
And how things can change during the year. Remember back to Indy, Michael, total dominance, came away with 0 points. And at Mid-Ohio, another race, total dominance.
Paul Tracy,
Jimmy Vasser.
He tapped Jimmy Vasser as they came off the last turn onto the pit straight. Vasser gets going again. Tracy got going right away. But that ended that battle in the front, and that's just the kind of thing that could affect this other battle. Because if those cars are sitting in front of them, if they roll to a stop on the course, then all of a sudden, Bobby Rahal could have been there.
Now we need to see, has Tracy damaged the front of his car? Oh, it doesn't look too bad. Oh, he's off the road again. Yes, he did damage the car.
Something's wrong there, right front wing, look at it.
He's got an understeer situation. Tracy, his challenge to Michael is now over.
So in the closing laps of this race, Paul Tracy makes a mistake, and in doing so, takes the pressure off of Michael Andretti. But the battle remains for the championship. Will Bobby Rahal come home the victor? We'll be back to watch the final moments of the IndyCar season for 1992, right after this. Paul Tracy is a spectator, his foot on the wall. His car slid up to it after he had some damage with Jimmy Vasser in turn one. He finally got it to a stop on the backside of the course.
Now, Michael, this is turn 11. Michael slides by. Tracy hopes that Vassar gives him enough room. Now, watch what happens here. Vassar turns in. Tracy is there. Breaks that front wing. Tracy no longer has the downforce he needs on the front of the car, and that caused his accident.
Cost him as he came up the hill and ran off the course. So he will watch the end of a race that he may have won. At the front of the field, that leaves Michael, then Mario Andretti, and Bobby Rahal in third. In third place, there is no question, as there was in fourth, that Bobby Rahal can end this race as the IndyCar champion, his third IndyCar championship. The team, as they applaud each time he comes by, still is hoping, but still not sure that this race is over. The season has been so tight this entire year, and it's come down to these very final laps. They come onto the pit straight again. Watch the team. 2 laps to go. You saw Debbie Rahal hold up the fingers. The team, quick applause. Rahal flashes past, heads for the first turn. In third place, no one in challenge to Rahal now. The Andretti family looks like they're looking at a first and second finish, with Mario chasing his son to the flag. Down in the Andretti pits, they did everything they could possibly have done, but it was not enough. Gary Gerald is right there.
Well, normally with a team running 1 and 2, it would be euphoric down here, but you don't get that sense in this pit today because they know that the championship is about to slide through their fingers. No opportunity to repeat. So what an irony. Michael and Mario going to go 1-2, it looks like, as we're in the final 2 laps, and yet there's no jubilation. The anticipation you normally expect, not here at this point in the Newman Haas pit.
Michael Andretti comes down the hill just in front of him, the 16 AMAX car. Stefan Johansson, who has wrapped up the Rookie of the Year honors and will be driving that car for the remainder of the season. Here car for the remainder of next year as well. He signed on with Tony Bettenhausen for next year.
Well, the handshakes, the hugs, the co-owners, Bobby Rahal and Carl Hogan, the emotion, wow. The new champion is crowned, Debbie Rahal, a jubilant crew, and now he goes to work with the helmet. The man who won here 4 consecutive years in the 80s. Today knew that he couldn't take the big chances. He had to be in the top 4. He managed to do the job. They wanted to win, but with Michael setting that torrid pace, he was able to hold off Cheever. And Bobby Rahal, another championship right now goes into your pocket. What are the thoughts? What are the emotions?
Well, all I can say is it must be destiny because, you know, the car was good enough but not great today, and it was just enough to be in the top 3 or 4. And you know, it's just a testament to my crew. They did a wonderful, wonderful job all year long, and I'll tell you, in your first year of having your own team, you win the championship. You know, I can't imagine what could be greater.
How much doubt, how much concern was there when Eddie Cheever started closing in and he was right behind you and you knew you had to be at least 4th or better?
Well, we were kind of playing it easy, still on fuel, and you know, you weren't. I mean, I tried to catch. I caught Mario and got ahead, and we lost it on the pit stop. You know, but as I say, the car, everything ran beautifully, so I can't complain.
It's a great moment. Carl Hogan's got a hat that he wants to put on Bobby Rahal's head, and I bet you anything it's going to say something about the '92 championship. There it is. It proudly goes on. Congratulations again.
Thank you very much, Gary.
Let's go to Jan Beekes.
Michael Andretti, you did absolutely everything today. You put it on the pole yesterday. You ran flawlessly, but not quite enough for the championship.
Yeah, it's mixed emotions for sure. I guess the only thing that we can say is we did everything we could do, and the guys did a great job in and out of the pits, and it's great to have a 1-2, you know, with our last time together, me and Dad. You know, what a way to end you know, an era. So it was, I guess, bittersweet.
Now you are looking forward. Obviously, I know that's not in your mind just yet, but this was your final IndyCar race. You're moving on to Formula One. Your thoughts on that?
It's a bit of a sad moment at the moment, you know, because it is the last time I'll be driving with Dad and driving IndyCars. It was a bit emotional at the start, but you know, we have to look forward, and you know, hopefully things will work out for us over there.
You know, Paul, there's tears in his eyes. He loves this IndyCar racing. We'll wish him well in Formula One. Paul?
Well, Mario, your best finish of the year, and I know a lot of emotions because now you have to say goodbye to a son as a fellow competitor as he heads to Formula One. What's going through your mind right now?
Well, at this point, I think on the positive side, I hope he goes over there and wins some races over there, so he can let me win some here. But he did what he had to do. I think he went. Obviously, he got maximum points for the weekend, but it just was one of those things where Bobby was running so well the whole year, and he won the championship. And I want to be one of the first ones to congratulate him.
I know that you have to be terribly proud. Thank you, Mario.
You bet.
Paul?
See that fight break out over the beer can and winners interview?
Congratulations, Bobby. We do have two. Announcer, get back. Announcer, move.
You have to cut this one in half.
Yeah, cut it in half, Carl. I want to do it. Driver, owner, and one for the owner coming up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hold it up right, buddy. We appreciate the trophy and we'll appreciate the check.
Come on, one more. There you go.
You have a good day?
Come on.
Here is the schedule for next year. Starting in Australia, the championship fight renews all the way down to the last race to be held here in Laguna Seca, California. All the same venues as this year. We'll have coverage of this race on October 22nd on Checkered Flag. What a great day for both Michael Andretti, and congratulations to the champion, Bobby Rahal.
Well, it takes a tremendous commitment to win a championship. Some of the unsung heroes of Rahal's team is Steve Newey, his engineer, and Jim Prescott, who has been part of Rahal's success for all these years. Michael said it's an end of an era. I look forward to beginning of a great new era with Michael in Formula One.
It has been a tremendous battle this year. It will be even better next year. I'm Paul Page for Derek Daly, Jan Beekes, and Gary Gerald. We'll see you next season in the IndyCars.